All right, we're back on the record. Excuse me, Commissioner Teague, let me recognize former Commissioner Boyce Magley that came in. Welcome, Commissioner Magley. Glad to have you. All right, Commissioner Teague.
Are there any other questions or comments from the commission for the proposed 2012-13 waterfowl season? Are there any questions or comments from the audience? All right. All right, we've heard the recommendations for the waterfowl season. Can I have a motion to accept Proclamation 12-15? Is there any further discussion on Proclamation 12-15? All right, I'd like to call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Proclamation 12-15 passes.
Thank you, Commissioner Teague.
Thank you. I'd like to call Chuck Yost, Agency Deer Program Coordinator, to come forward, please.
Thank you, Commissioners. Good afternoon, and as he said, I'm the Deer Program Coordinator. I'm here today to talk to you about an update for the CWD, or the chronic wasting disease importation ban. There's been 2 instances where chronic wasting disease has been discovered in new areas, and these states included Iowa and Texas. Specifically in Iowa, this includes Davis County, and in Texas, the first county is El Paso, the second is Hudspeth, and excuse me if I mispronounce that. But the agency would like to recommend that we expand the restricted zone to include these new areas. If the commission wishes to expand to include these areas, this is the information that would be posted on our website. This is the information that's available for hunters who hunt in areas that these restrictions apply to. And basically what this means is that if you were to go hunt in these areas, the areas are highlighted on the map for you in yellow. But if you were to hunt in those areas and were to harvest a cervid, which would include deer, elk, mule deer, and moose, if you were to transport those into our state or through our state, you would be required to meet the requirements on the bottom right, which essentially you'd have to have a clean skull plate, finished taxidermy, clean teeth, and finished hides. So that's in place just to try to prevent the unintentional introduction of this disease into Tennessee. And let's see if this mouse will help me here. If you'll follow my mouse, the new areas that we're talking about is right here. That's Davis County, Iowa. And then if you'll look at the top right-hand corner, the map there, that would include the 2 counties in West Texas. So simply the information on our website would change to reflect these new areas. So with that in mind, the agency requests that the Wildlife Committee expand the containment zone to include Davis County, Iowa, El Paso, and Hudspeth counties in Texas.
Are there any questions or comments from the commission concerning adding these new states to the CWD restricted zones?
Mr. Chairman, I've got a question.
Excuse me, go ahead.
I have a concern about how hunters are going, if I'm going to Iowa to hunt, I wouldn't necessarily go to the TWRA website to find out this information. Why are we not banning it from the whole state of Iowa, or a larger area where it's more publicly known that you do it. I mean, you're going down to the county. I'm not sure how effective that is. So I'm not sure how if we're gonna stop CWD importation, I'm not sure where you get down to the county if it's gonna be effective or not. I mean, is that?
I think Daryl would like to address that. I'll step back.
If I may step in for Chuck. Chuck wasn't around when we initialized this CWD importation ban. It originated, generally CWD was found out west, and we banned entire states. In fact, if you look at the map there, you'll see that most of the western states is the entire state. Unfortunately, within the last decade or so, the disease has progressed eastward, and it jumped the Mississippi River, occurred in Illinois, started encroaching on Tennessee. And a few years ago, it was discovered in Missouri and in Virginia, and even in West Virginia. And we had discussions amongst our staff to literally ban the entire state, deer coming from the entire state of Missouri and Virginia and West Virginia. And we felt it would cause undue hardship because there's a lot of Tennessee hunters that go to neighboring states. So what the staff decided to do is nearby states, and we even did it with Texas because we believe a lot of Tennessee hunters still go to Texas to hunt deer. So as not to put undue burden, we go with the containment zone that the states issue. And so Virginia, West Virginia, they identified their CWD containment zones within their state, and we're just simply going with what they outline as their containment zone. Simply because if you're a Tennessee hunter and you hunt 2 miles over the border in Virginia, there's very little likelihood that you're going to be bringing back an infected animal. And so we didn't want to put undue pressure on those hunters to have to process their meat, get full taxidermy work done when there's really low risk to it. And so that's why we decided to go with the smaller containment zones. The other thing we did, this restriction used to be set in proclamation, which takes some time to develop. Cheryl explained the process to the commission earlier today. And just within the past few months, actually at the season setting meetings in April and May, we removed that CWD proclamation, and it's done by commission vote. And the reason we did that is we would publish the restricted areas in our hunting guide, and we did that for 4 or 5 years. And unfortunately, states pop up at any point in the year. If we publish something in the hunting guide and a new state came up, for example, Iowa and Texas, we'd never had a chance to publish it in the hunting guide. So the hunting guide directs the hunters, if you're hunting out of state, look at the website first to see if you're hunting in an area that has these certain restrictions on it. And so that it's an obligation of the hunter to know if where he's hunting falls under these restrictions. But this gives the commission the ability to make changes really quickly. So it literally just takes one commission meeting and an updated website to adjust the regulations for this.
Are there any further questions from the commission? Any questions from the audience?
I just want to say that I appreciate the way you're doing it, but because for being from Bristol, I mean, I had taxidermists, meat processors, a lot of people that were really upset when we talked about closing the whole state of Virginia. And so I think personally, if we're creating the right situation that people can look it up, then I agree that I think we're doing the right thing, and I appreciate that.
If there's no further comments, I'd like to ask for a motion for the Wildlife Management Committee to accept the recommendation to add Texas and Iowa to those states with a chronic wasting disease restriction. Is there any further discussion? I'd like to call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Are there any opposed? The recommendation to add Texas and Iowa to those states with a chronic wasting disease restriction passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Next up is going to be Daryl. He's going to come back up and give you an update on the elk tags. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck, and thank you, Commissioners. I have a really quick presentation here. What I wanted to do is just come before the Commission and give an update on the status of the elk tags. Obviously, the elk hunt in Tennessee is a very special hunt since there are so few tags given away. Initially, the way that the Commission has passed the regulations, there were 6 tags available for as an opportunity for hunters to take an elk in Tennessee. 4 of those tags were already given away through a random drawing that anyone could apply for. Tennessee sportsmen, even non-residents, anyone that wishes to apply for those tags is put in a drawing. And back in June, Gray Anderson, our assistant chief, announced the winners of those 4 tags. That left 2 tags remaining. The first of which was, it's called our conservation elk tag. And that's a special tag that we give away each year. The executive director has the ability to issue a tag to a conservation group. And the way we select that conservation organization is we have an RFP. It's a call for proposals for these conservation groups to submit the proposal that lets us know how they're going to raise money through the sale of that tag. And for a number of years, the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, the Tennessee Wildlife Resource Foundation, the Federation, a number of groups have put in for that tag. And just recently, this past year, the tag was awarded to the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Foundation. And the way that they planned to raise money for that tag was to auction it off on eBay. And I will say they've been awarded the tag, I believe, 3 out of the 4 years, and they always conduct the auction the same way. It generally takes place in mid-July, and it again took place just a month and a half ago. And the winning bid for this year's conservation tag went to a Walt Kimberlin of Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and he purchased the tag for $6,800. Now, the way our regulations are set up, the conservation organization can keep a small percentage to recoup some of the monies for the marketing of that tag, but the vast majority of that money comes back to the agency, and it literally goes back into the elk program. And so it's a wonderful tool for us to continue doing the great work that the guys in Region 4 and especially on North Cumberland are doing for the elk herd. And this year's tag, the gentleman apparently is a very avid hunter and very looking forward to the hunt. Him and the other 4 members participate, or the other 4 tag winners participate in the hunt, which takes place Monday through Friday. And those 5 hunters will hunt in a specific elk zone. Now, the last tag that we have yet to announce or to advise the commission about was a youth elk tag. And what that tag was is it's the first ever youth elk hunt that we're doing. And I have to compliment the commission for the creation of this tag this past year. And what it is, we set up a specific hunt to take place on the weekend after the main hunt. So the main hunt is Monday through Friday. The youth hunt is Saturday and Sunday. And the child that's selected for that hunt can hunt in all 5 of the elk zones if they wish. So they have more or less free reign of the whole area. And so this year we made that tag available, and anyone putting in for the elk hunt, if they were between the ages of 13 to 16, they could put in for the special youth elk tag. And this year it is somewhat disappointing. We had a little less than 300 applicants put in for this tag. And we're gonna conduct the announcement at the normal June commission meeting, and we're approached and asked to do a big event with the announcement of that youth tag. And so we had decided that to make an ordeal out of it, since it was the first ever youth elk hunt that we were going to give away, we'd make the announcement at the Land and Wildlife Expo in Nashville, which took place in early August. And I will be the first to admit that was extremely gratifying. It turned out much, much better than we anticipated. What we did as an agency, we got together with Quality Deer Management Association, the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, and staff that were running the Land and Wildlife Expo, and we coordinated this event, and we were able to send a letter to all 293 families that put in for the elk hunt, invite them to the announcement of the tag, and everyone that showed up was given gifts. Every child that showed up that had put in, regardless if they won the tag, was going to get a gift bag worth at least $50. And so it was a great promotion for the agency. As you can see from the picture, it brought out a huge gathering. We may, if we do something like this again, we may have to think of a different venue for it. But we had Director Carter announce the tag, and the winner was Jessica Parkins of Greenville, Tennessee. She is a 14-year-old, And we're thrilled when we saw the name that was selected by the computer drawing. And Director Carter presented Ms. Parkins with a certificate at the expo. And it's a really nice certificate. It read, I'll read it real quick. The Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency recognizes Jessica as Tennessee's first ever recipient of the 2012 Tennessee Youth Elk Permit. The certificate represents a unique opportunity to harvest a free-ranging American bull elk in Tennessee. The inaugural Youth Elk Hunt will be held October 20th and 21st at the North Cumberland Wildlife Management Area. The agency would like to congratulate Jessica and wish her a safe, successful, and memorable hunt. And the director did a great job presenting that to Miss Jessica. There was a number of commissioners in attendance as well, and she's just really excited. We actually are trying to arrange a guide for her, and I don't know if the guide has contacted the family, but Chris Nishin, who is in the audience, has agreed to serve as a guide for Miss Parkins. And with that, I just want to give a special thanks. Again, we really do need to thank the commissioners, because especially Commissioner McMillan, who spearheaded the drive to create this youth elk tag, but he had support from the rest of the commissioners. And the other commissioner I need to point out is Commissioner Schuster, for organizing the Land and Wildlife Expo. It was truly a tremendous event, and she did a fantastic job with that. The Quality Deer Management Association, believe it or not, was the one that came up with the idea, so I just wanted to recognize them real quickly, and especially the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. Miss Parkins, when she was awarded the elk tag, was also given a brand new rifle and a bunch of other gear for her to take home. So they fully outfitted Miss Parkins. She's going to have a great guide to take her out there, and hopefully she'll be the first youth to ever harvest an elk in Tennessee. With that, if you have any questions, I believe we're done in wildlife.
Daryl, I believe Bass Pro Shops contributed also to the package that was given to the kids.
Absolutely. Bass Pro Shops was one of the main sponsors of the Land and Wildlife Expo. The great thing about it was any child that showed up for the announcement, they brought their letter that we sent to them, and they were able to go to the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation booth and get a hat. And then they were given these gift bags that there was over $50 worth of gifts that was in each bag for the kids. I believe we're done.
Daryl, I went to the very first elk hunt, and there was I don't remember the man's name that had a farm there that they had set up camp there. Do they still continue to do that at that same farm? Or?
The gentleman you're speaking of is Mr. Terry Lewis. He's a big volunteer for the elk program. I do not know the details as far as if he's continuing. I know the very first elk hunt that we had, for that event, he donated his land and he had a number of cabins, but I don't know if that continues today.
No, we haven't been doing that since that first year. We have a orientation day and bring everybody in and feed just the hunters, you know, and their family members, but it's really geared around an orientation about the area and rules and things like that.
So most of them are staying in hotels and stuff and hunting? Okay. I appreciate it. But I do appreciate the effort that you gave to make it a special event for the kids, and hopefully this thing will compound some interest in our elk herd. So I do appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Is there any other business that needs to come before the Wildlife Management Committee? If not, that concludes the business of the Wildlife Management Committee. Thank you.